Hi, welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. Boy, if you could have heard the conversation we just had.
It was his fault.
I am Matt Connerton. It kind of was. And this is, of course, the Honorable Gary S. Hopper.
What's honorable about him?
Title only.
Okay.
Yeah. There's no actually character accomplishments that I've made.
I see.
You know how these things
If
go.
you get elected into the New Hampshire state as a New Hampshire state representative, you have the title of honorable forever.
Oh, so I was.
So you should run for office
honorable
just so
less.
you could be the what's your name again? The honorable
That's Jimmy.
Jimmy.
Yeah, Jimmy.
Yes.
Jimmy.
We do the Jimmy and Chad show.
Anyway, I asked Norm to come on, stay with us a little while, just for a few minutes to touch on House Bill 437 that we voted on just a little while ago. I was running late because the vote for or against it was at 5:15 in
Oh,
Concord.
wow. That's
So
kinda
I-
close for you, huh?
I don't know what the statute of limitations on speeding are, but
Yeah.
I'd neither confirm nor deny that I was to get here.
My psychic ability said you got over and over and over the speed limit.
Yeah, but I don't think that's admissible in court yet.
Oh, no?
No,
Oh, okay.
no.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so
what
any,
is that bill?
huh?
So what is that
Well,
bill?
I wanted to introduce our guest tonight. I screwed it up on Facebook. I said it was New Hampshire Skeptic. It's Granite State Skeptics, correct? That's your right?
Yes.
This is Travis. I just freaking screwed up.
They heard you say that.
What's your name? Dale. Dale.
You know what? I don't
Okay.
feel so bad now.
Yeah.
Every time I have guests on my show.
That's
I have
true.
to ask
That's
Matt.
true. Norm does struggle with names.
Now they're married
Okay.
until
You
probably
did
after
rat
the
us
show.
out. What is up with that?
What?
You did rat us out on that. You
That's
said
the
you
kind of
wouldn't.
program I run. I
Oh,
just,
now your families are going to know and everything.
you suck
Now
people into the
everyone's gonna
program, then you
know.
slam them. Anyway, so House Bill, this is what the strategery they used in the House today. Representative Bates had an amendment to his original bill that would have just repealed same-sex marriage. He had a floor amendment, or an amendment to it, that would have done two things. A, it would have had a referendum that went to the people, which is what the people wanted. There's a lot of people around the state that had voted in their local elections that they wanted to be able to vote on this.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so I thought that was reasonable, and and the amendment
support that.
also fixed. It made the repeal take effect, I think, in May or June of next year, after the referendum, so that the next legislature would have an opportunity to repeal it if they wanted, if that was the voters' will. And it also pushed the clock back on same civil unions, so that if somebody was married, they weren't left in the lurch. They would fall into the civil unions thing. So anyway, I asked Norm to stick around because I know he's got some views on this. I was wondering what you thought about that.
I guess one of my views are leave it alone.
Which one?
If two guys or two girls want to get married, let them. Who are we to control? Are we the communists to tell us that we can't have, if I want to get married to my partner, that we can't get married because the Christians and the Republicans and the Catholics say it's all a sin?
Hey, what you made that Christian thing sound like a bad thing.
And he did like this
I know,
hand motion
he
thing.
did
yes.
a hand
You
motion.
know, that we're going to hell because we have same-sex marriage, and they don't have to have a bakery.
Now wait.
They don't have to have a bakery. Is that
I
mentioned
mean,
in the
they
bill?
can refuse a baker can refuse to make a wedding
No, wait.
cake.
Oh, yes, yes.
That's completely different, Bill. That was a couple weeks ago.
Oh, okay. Well, I think it should be.
Anyway,
honestly,
wait.
I think it should be
Honestly.
a person's choice.
Yeah, but last year when I talked to you about this, you weren't really in favor of gay
No,
marriage.
I'm not. Even though I'm gay,
Yeah.
I don't like gay people. I'm always.
It is
no,
true.
I think
It
it's
is true. Yeah.
I think
Now
it's
I know I
actually.
don't like them. I couldn't put my finger on.
Actually, I think it's
Not that I
good.
should
Even
put
though
my
I don't
finger on
agree
it.
with
Right,
gay,
no,
I
right,
actually
no,
don't.
no.
For two things I don't agree with. I don't agree with gay marriages. If they
Right.
want to be union, you're right. But I think that when the legislators start controlling whether they get married or not, that's absolutely wrong. I don't believe in gay adoptions. Because I think, honestly, with my son, the hell he went through, because when they thought I was gay, he went through hell in Laconia, in a welfare city.
Yeah.
And I think, and I also think that,
that was Franklin.
unfortunately, the gay community, a lot of them hurt the people who are gay by having a gay pride day and by having a gay this and that. You know what? People are people. It doesn't matter what your sexual orientation is. It doesn't matter who you are. You could be a
I
serial
don't think that's
killer.
true because it does matter what your sexual orientation. Like if you're bisexual, your odds of
No such thing as bisexual.
yeah, but if your odds go up as far as finding a partner, so it does matter.
No.
That's true. You're really keeping your options open. in
keeping
that
your
case,
Yeah.
options
Oh, I'm gonna go out. You know what? I lived a female when I was married to 4 different women, and you know what? It's no fun. I have more fun now than I did then. I'm a lot older, but no. But actually, I think it's a person's choice. Do I personally? And I'm glad, I'm kind of glad it didn't get repealed because I think it's up to the people.
Yeah.
But as far as, I don't want any more rights than you have. I don't want any more rights than you have. You know what I mean? I want to have the same rights as you have, because
Right.
if that law had a repeal, what's next? Because now you got where they can't have abortion because the insurance company won't pay for it or whatever. They're doing all this stuff, and you're going to tell us now. And no, I'm sorry, I backtrack you here. I want to backtrack if I may for a second.
Back up.
Okay. Whoa, yeah. But that's like when I don't agree with, like if they're secretly married, we can see that,
Yes.
But
Norm knew it before Gary
yeah.
even.
But
Yeah.
the one thing I don't believe in, if a man and woman are going to live together, okay, and they can't get health insurance because we'll say he's working. And he's providing, and
That's
they
a
can get
stretch,
health
isn't it?
insurance. But a gay couple, but a same-sex couple can get health insurance.
That's not
Now-
what his employer calls it. No.
Well, he's there. How's that?
Yeah,
But I
okay.
mean, if you're going to allow the same sex to have insurance,
Yeah.
to me it's wrong. If you've got a couple that are living together as man and wife, then they should be allowed to have insurance either on your policy or on his policy.
Actually, at a previous
just gonna say.
at a previous company that I worked for, if you had a live-in partner that you weren't married to, it didn't matter if you were straight or gay.
Was that,
they still would let you cover your.
What state?
Well, it was. I worked for a company in Massachusetts, but
Yeah,
I lived
okay.
in
Yeah.
New Hampshire.
And
Yeah.
I was still a student at the time, so I wasn't working.
You're
and I was going to
educating
school.
yourself.
I was
Yeah.
trying to get smarter.
In the United States, you try to get smarter. You didn't try to go to school here in New Hampshire, did you?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, God bless you, honey. Send me back.
So anyway, Dale, what's your? I know what your husband's take on this is, but I haven't actually heard from you on this specifically.
On the gay marriage repeal,
Yeah.
I'm glad it wasn't repealed.
Okay.
I'm for gay marriage.
I am too. Well, you know my position. I believe
Yeah,
that
you're
only.
sitting down.
I believe. Well, currently, yes.
Yes.
I believe that only gay people should be allowed to get married. Because it gets me off the hook. Because if my girlfriend ever starts dropping hints about wanting to get married, I can say, "Well, honey, I can't marry you. I'm not gay."
Well,
but
she-
I wouldn't make it retroactive. Like you wouldn't have to leave your wife to be with a dude.
Yeah, but she'd get like a sex change thing.
Oh yeah, I think that'd be a deal breaker. I think I'd probably. Thanks, Brent. I think I'd probably move on. Yeah, I mean, no offense, honey, if you're watching, I love you, but if you get a sex change, it's over. I'm out of here.
Well,
You are so
actually,
narrow-minded.
I know.
I really, I think that this repealing the gay marriage or the repealing of this and that is a waste of your time.
Oh yeah, and it was like 3 or something hours.
Right, I mean,
actually,
come on.
if you look at it this way, it was 3 hours debate. They tried to limit debate, but that didn't go so good. 3 hours of debate. 360 something people are up there. Figure out how many hours of time that is.
And
It's a big
I mean,
number.
don't we have better things to prioritize ourselves? We're worried about whether gay people are going to be married or whether a woman's going to go to Planned Parenthood, get an abortion,
I agree.
or
There are other more important things.
right, like education.
Right.
Let's be honest, education in New Hampshire is going down the tubes. Everybody wants to cut back.
Right.
You know, but you know what I do know, that
Yeah.
God is going to come in with Jesus and He's going to heal them all.
No, not actually. No, that's not how it.
Oh, that's how that
No.
works.
Don't look at me, I don't know.
But no, I
Neither do
respect
I.
every. The main thing is, like, where I don't agree with gay marriages, obviously, and I have a partner, but we're not gay. We're not so. If you want, when we just have our own commitment to each other. It's
Right,
friendship,
right.
You know, no, I don't think that you need to flaunt it out. Oh, I'm going to be a Queen Mary, and I'm going to get married when I'm wedding gown, and I'm going to be a drag queen for the day.
Right.
You know,
Right.
that's garbage.
Travis.
Yes. What's my views on it?
Your
Well,
thoughts?
yeah.
My thoughts? Well, basically what it comes down to for me is this, is that if you don't want to have gay marriage because you think marriage is a religious institution, then you shouldn't have marriage for anybody, straight or gay. You should have civil unions for everybody.
I agree with that.
Yeah. So, but if you're not going to limit it that way, then I think it doesn't matter. If you're gay or straight, you should be able to get married. So, that's pretty much my position.
Yeah, like I've said on Facebook and everywhere else, my position is that the decline and fall of the American empire started back around 50 years ago when we introduced no-fault divorce, which increased the divorce rate from 15 to 50%, compounded, by the loss of integrity in marriage, which increased the number of women and men who didn't get married at all. You went from 1960s to a 6% children born out of wedlock to 36% currently, and to me, this is just continuing down that. If you take like a bullet, you know what the projectile is, where it's headed, and that's where we're headed, where marriage becomes less and less valuable, and society declines more and more as time goes on. And the more society declines, government grows exponentially to compensate for it. But anyway,
Yeah, and you're right on that. Then I'm going to run. Well, on that, I agree with you. It was so easy to get married, and I've been married several times. Okay, but
Even
and then
gay
it was-
dudes can get married. That's how easy it is.
But it's even easier to get divorced.
in
And
some
that's-
states, yeah.
It really, New Hampshire is one of the easiest
Is it?
states.
Yeah.
One of the
Wow.
easiest states that I've got.
I have a personal friend that's been going through it for, a year and a half, 2 years now? It's
Really?
not
Well,
that
maybe
easy.
maybe we just wanted to get rid of each other, but it was pretty easy. But
sure it
the
depends.
thing I feel bad
Yeah,
about
I'm
is
sure it depends.
usually the mother gets custody of the child. And I'm not saying all mothers are bad. Don't ever misunderstand that.
Oh, I'll
But
say it.
I know some pretty bad mothers that get custody of their children and they don't deserve to have it, where a father can be a very good.
Actually, the person that we know is
Yes.
the father that got the custody.
And he is getting custody?
Yeah, he has
Oh,
custody
good.
of the children.
Well, anyways, on that note, thanks for having me here. And
Norm,
remember,
I love you. I don't
I
care.
love you too.
know?
When you coming back on my show? so
Yes,
we can
I
get
will
more
try to
things
get here
going.
earlier.
There you go. We got to get
He's
things
got
going.
important voting that
I got to vote on important stuff.
And education.
I hate education.
Hey, and let's vote on. Let's
man, I'm
having
off
a
the show.
legalized hanging.
Legalized
Oh, lynching?
Yeah.
Yeah! I want to bring back the stocks.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And legalizing marijuana.
So people
Whatever.
can end up in
I'm
the
always
stocks or
sick,
something.
so I need it legalized.
Hey, Norm, thanks for
Thanks.
joining
All
us.
right.
Have a good night,
Thanks,
brother.
Norm.
You too. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yep. And you two want to come on sometime on my show.
Maybe we'll talk
Maybe.
about it.
Yeah. We just have a wild open show, a little more wild than hers. He's too conservative. That's right, he's a Republican.
Yes.
We'll see you, Norm.
Bye, Norm.
Oh, man, life is fun. So anyway,
Yes.
I wanted to commend Travis. And I don't know if Dale instigated it, but specifically Travis. As the viewers know, if they've been watching a long time, then they're probably brain dead already. But I had legislation to try to encourage science teachers to teach the flaws with the theory of evolution in class, so the kids actually understood that it was a theory with flaws.
Right.
And there was a gentleman, and I'm not going to get into the name, but he basically trashed me at the time I introduced the bill, Then he actually attacked me on Facebook, so I had to change my settings so nobody could post on my wall unless I knew them.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that. Yeah, you had
and-
people from other parts of the world commenting, didn't you?
Yeah, and so just Canada. So
That is technically another part of the world.
it is. Yeah, but
Same continent doesn't
so's,
count.
so's
All right, if we're
Nashua.
going by continent.
So's
Yes.
Nashua.
So like a 5-hour drive.
Right.
So this is gonna be brutal.
Yes.
I can tell that right now. So anyway, then I introduced the bill last month. I think it was last month, and I think Woody loaded to a couple of papers
Yep.
and associated him with the Granite State Skeptics.
Yes.
Yep.
And basically sounded like it was a group of, made himself look like he was a group of people who were insulting me. Now, Granite State Skeptics from the meeting I went to doesn't agree with me,
Right.
but Travis specifically called and said he wanted to apologize on behalf of the group
Oh,
because,
yes, okay.
not because he had done anything wrong, because it looked like the group was
Right.
not engaging in actual civil discourse.
Right.
And I just wanted to commend you, and that's
thank
one
you
reason I
very
wanted you to have
much.
on the show.
Yeah, and actually she did poke me about that, so you
Ah,
can thank her
okay.
just as much
Yeah,
as me.
I had just gotten done teaching a class, and then I have office hours, and I like to take 5 minutes to decompress. And I went onto Facebook, and I saw on our page that
What he was
man's
doing,
post,
yeah.
and I was like, oh, oh boy. I'm like, and then I contacted Travis right away, and I was like, did you see what was said in our name? I'm like, we should get on top of this.
Wow.
Yep.
So,
Yeah. But I mean, it's like even the gay marriage thing. You can discuss it and have civil discussion about it, and come to
Yeah.
an agreement and vote or whatever. But
Yeah, in fact, you came to one of our meetings, and that came up after the general talk, and
Yeah.
I thought, I mean, we had disagreements, but I thought that it was civil otherwise.
Travis,
Oh,
your mic is way
Sorry.
far away. Yeah, that's all right.
I'll lean in
I just
then.
want to make sure everybody can hear you.
No, that's
it was,
okay.
it was civil. I was quite outnumbered, needless to say. But that's
Goes with the group, I guess.
yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure that the people knew that you guys had done that, because that is very, in this day and age with a lot of the anger you see everywhere. It's quite commendable for people to do that.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate
Thanks.
that.
Anyway, tell us a little bit about your group, why you started it, what it is, and
Okay, yeah. So we started Granite State Skeptics about 3 years ago now. It was right around
it would have been
TAM
around
7.
10, a little after TAM 7. So yeah, 3
So
years.
just TAM is a big international conference that happens once a year. It's
Okay.
called the Amazing Meeting. It's put on by the James Randi Educational Foundation. So right around the time of the 7th one, we started Granite State Skeptics, and we've been having meetings ever since. And it's just to promote science and critical thinking and rationality. And
Yeah.
and we try and get speakers in, and we have meetings once a month. And yeah, we talk about all different kinds of topics. We've done ghost hunt.
Yep. And we've invited a ghost hunter to come speak.
Yep, that was very interesting. That was one of our
Even
best
though
meetings.
no one in our group actually believes ghosts exist, we still had him.
Who was the ghost hunter? Because I know a lot of these people.
It was Paratom.
Okay, no, I don't
Yeah.
know.
So, but it was that was a lot of fun, and we've done some other stuff. We did a protest of a psychic at the palace, and
a protest.
yeah, what
Really?
we did was we. This is actually. Do you want to explain what we did?
Sure, I can. So John Edward, is it Edward or Edwards?
I think
always
it's
get the-
Edward.
It's Edward
All
singular.
right.
Singular.
I don't
singular, yeah.
want to confuse the names between
Not-
the
not- yeah,
politician
not the
and the
politician.
psychic. So the psychic medium.
Yeah.
He did a show at the Palace Theater, last summer?
Yeah.
And he was charging $120 to attend his show, and he claims that he can speak
Oh, yeah.
to people from beyond the grave.
Yeah.
And traditionally, what people in his field do is what's called cold reading. And so what we did is we made up flyers on cold reading, and we handed out bingo cards.
Explain cold reading, because I don't know what that means.
Cold reading is when you don't know anything about the person you're talking to,
Yes.
but you will go for common,
I think you're going to meet
Commons-
somebody tomorrow or something.
Yeah, or, there's-
Vague
names.
enough?
Yeah, there's somebody in your past that passed on that I'm getting an M. kind of
Yes.
thing.
Yeah.
And then you kind of
Yes.
you whittle it down from there. Oh, I think they died in circumstances that had to do with water. And that could be, tons
could
of
be
different things. They
anything.
could have got shot while in the rain. They could have drowned. They could have, all kinds of different things.
And
And
then-
then they'll even manipulate it in such a way whereas if, they had pneumonia, which is fluid in the lungs, so they
Right.
drowned.
Right.
That kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Thank
so you
you.
really stretch.
I was lost for words there for a
It's okay.
second. I was like, couldn't get them out. But they'll take the information like that, and then depending on the audience member, sometimes they will provide that confirmation information. They'll say, well, yes, you died of pneumonia, and then the psych will be like, oh, well, that's fluid in the lungs, so there you go. There's my water hit.
Or,
Right.
I had a
That's fine.
grandmother named Mary. Oh, there's the M.
Yeah, there's the and
Yeah, there's a
usually-
lot. I think that's one thing about that field is there are always will be because, like you said, it's not really what you would call science. There's always a propensity for charlatans to take advantage of people.
right.
Yeah.
It's actually the same thing in some quote unquote Christian healer things where
Oh, the faith healers.
the faith
Yeah,
healers,
yeah.
and they're really not healing anybody.
Yeah.
They're it's a scam.
Actually, there was Randy helped James Randi from the James Randi Educational Foundation. He's a magician and does the same kind of stuff. But he actually did a thing with Peter Popoff, who was a big faith healer, and they found out that he was using a hearing aid that was, and they
Yeah.
were reading off what, like people would fill out cards,
Yeah.
and they would read off to him, and then there's a really good video clip online about that.
Yeah.
I know. I got to tell you this, and I'm a Christian, so I don't think this is. I don't agree with this, but before I was a Christian, I went to a spiritualist church in Worcester, and I was going outside, and there was a gentleman there, a very old gentleman, whose wife was sick. I had met him before. And or did I meet him before? I'm not even sure if I met him before. But anyway, I know from talking to him that his wife was sick. So he came to the church like once every 6 months or something. And there was a guy that used to come to our church that was a mortician. And this guy was really into signs when you're born and stuff like that. And astrology.
Yeah.
I mean, like, really, he had this book, this astrology book that he had since the 20s, and it was so worn, like pages were almost falling out.
Yeah.
And so the mortician asked him and said, "Well, if you've been doing it that long," he said, "Oh yeah, I've been doing this way before it was popular. I've been doing this for a long time." He says, "If you're that good at it, you can. If we give you our birth date, you should be able to determine what we do for a living."
Yeah.
And he said, "Yeah, I can do that." So he goes to him. Is a little old guy, a little kind of, I can't call it what kind of grin it is, but anyway, so he's sitting there with this little grin, and he first he goes to my brother. My brother gives him his date, his birth date, and he says, "Okay, well, first you work with wood. Are you a carpenter?" And my brother was a cabinet maker.
Yeah.
Then he went to me, and he opened it up, and this is back in the 80s, and he opened it up, and he said, "Well, you have something to do with politics. Are you into politics?" I said, "No, not at all." And then he said, "Well, secondarily, if that's not it, you do something with metal."
Huh.
I said, "Well, yeah, I'm a machinist." So then he goes to the mortician. And this mortician's like huge. You get this little old guy, okay, huge cotton picking mortician, kind of a little bit creepy dude. And he goes, "Well," he gives him the birthday. "What do I do?" He says, he looks and he's smiling. He's got that little smile. And he goes, "Well, you have something to do with the dead. Are you a mortician?" And the guy goes, "Yeah." He says, "Oh, and I wouldn't bring my wife to you if she dies."
Wow.
And you can see the guy's face turns red. He's so angry he wants to explode,
Yeah.
but he can't.
Right.
So what I'm getting at is, I know there's something else out there, but there are too many. There are so many charlatans that it's difficult to distinguish.
So you're more open to that than I thought then.
I know it's true.
Okay.
I've seen too much.
Yeah.
But
Interesting.
anyway,
Interesting.
So you had no, you went to the this guy, the cold reading guy. What ended up happening?
Yeah, you want to tell them about the bingo cards?
We handed out bingo cards. It's called Cold Reading Bingo Cards, and we handed them out in envelopes. And we originally had said it's for the show, meaning that it was just, for them
Help you
to
remember.
use to help you remember.
Right.
And then, being our first protest, we didn't realize that by saying that, we were implying we were part of the show, and so we had to fix that. Because we were not part of the show.
Yeah.
And that ended up turning out all right. We handed out 500 bingo cards,
Something like that, yeah.
So we counted. We found out it's 800 seats in the palace. And we handed out 500. Some were returned as soon as they found out that it's not, in fact, part of the show. That we were there, basically against cold reading and
Right.
John Edward, and so a few people were angry.
Sure.
But we didn't respond. We're just like, well, thank you for returning it. And, and at the end, we didn't hand out as many brochures. A lot of people just wanted to go, but we did
Sure.
hand out
Quite a few, probably a couple hundred.
I would say maybe 100, but
Well, somewhere around there.
if we want to be optimistic, a couple hundred, and then
Yeah.
and that was basically it. It was just quiet off to the side. We didn't want it to be a big deal. It was more about the information and planting the idea, and not getting our name out there.
Yeah.
So what happened with that? I don't understand. So you get the bingo cards.
Yep.
Right, so what's
So say 200 people have bingo cards now, or 400, whatever.
yeah.
And what happens?
Well, the idea is
Go ahead.
basically that they would fill out the bingo cards that had like I said, something to do with water, something to do with the hard letters and stuff, and basically it's just for them to mark it down, and then the idea is that while they were doing that, they would realize that these are very generic terms, and that they
Oh,
were,
okay.
and to clue them in on that.
Oh,
we don't know
okay.
if anybody actually yelled bingo. It would be funny if somebody
That was
did.
our
but-
secret hope.
Yeah,
We were
we don't know if anybody
"Oh,
actually
let's
did.
all
I get it,
shout
I get it,
bingo."
I
But-
get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just to plant the idea of how often he uses these common terms.
Yeah.
No, actually, the psychic stuff actually goes back to the Bible. If you look at David, when he was, now I'm going to forget the king's name, King David, when he slew Goliath, and I forget what I forget what the king's name was. But anyway, so he's chasing this king, but he won't kill him because God, as far as David was concerned, God is God. God's anointed him as leader. That's it. He actually had the opportunity to kill him when he was in a cave. But that king went into a witch and disguised himself to try to get some sort of insight as to what was going on, because he'd kind of lost touch with God. And when the witch was basically doing the reading, she realized who he was and was profoundly offended, because she knows that she was offending God by actually participating in this. So there's actually biblical reference to this type of stuff. It does not
I didn't know that.
it does not advocate it.
Right.
Right.
It's saying
Just mentions
it
it.
mentions it.
Yeah.
Huh. I had no idea.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. It's one of those things that people have used to scam other people since eternity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. It's such a non-specific thing that yes, it can be used. It's like the faith healers. It can be used to scam people and to part them from their money.
Yeah, I mean the big thing is that the JREF actually puts up $1 million challenge, where if you can prove any psychic paranormal abilities in a controlled scientific test
Okay.
where you beat the odds, then you get $1 million, and nobody's ever claimed it.
No. And the psychics are involved in setting up those parameters. You tell them your ability, what you can do, and you agree to all of the terms. And so it's your experiment. It's not
And
just
who's
their
this? What group is
dictating
this
it.
again?
This is the James Randi Educational Foundation.
Okay.
So every psychic that does do this, they agree to the setup, the terms, how they conduct the experiment, all of that you agree to ahead of time. It's not the JREF saying, well, this is what we're going to do. It's
Mutually
you-
agreed upon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's RANDI.
So no one's ever gone ahead and taken the challenge?
No. There's been many times that the challenge has been.
Oh,
No
and,
one's
they've
won
just
the
all,
challenge.
all
Yeah,
failed.
the way
okay.
that it works is that they set up the parameters with the JRAF,
Oh, okay.
and then there's a preliminary challenge where the odds are 1 in 5,000 that you'll pass the test. If you pass that test, then you go on to the actual challenge, which is a 1 in a million probability.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever beaten the entry level.
Oh, no
And
kidding.
we were actually at TAM 7, the first one we
Yeah.
went to. One of the things they did was a real preliminary challenge, and we saw it live. We were there.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah,
No
it was a very
Yeah.
interesting experience.
And everyone, well, I can't speak for everyone. I was there hoping that she would make it past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, how cool would that be?
Yeah,
It's
that'd
like,
be
I was
interesting.
there, the first person to make it past this point, and I got to see it happen. And no, she didn't make it.
But they've had all kinds of claims. The biggest one that they usually get is dowsing.
Yeah.
Dowsing for water
Okay,
or
yeah.
other stuff.
Yeah.
And then they get a lot of psychics.
Yeah.
They've
Was it-
actually they had one person that they said that they could make somebody pee with their mind.
Really?
I
Yeah.
forgot about that one.
Yeah.
And then was it 2 years ago? They had someone who they did like a mock setup or like a very preliminary testing, and the woman said that she could read your aura or biofield and figure out what was wrong with you.
Oh no, she claimed to have some kind of X-ray vision type
Oh,
of
that's
thing.
right.
Really?
It was something to do with
Yeah.
that. And so one of the members of the JREF group is missing a kidney, like born without a kidney. And she was supposed to pick the person, and she picked the wrong person.
Yeah.
But
Huh.
so
Yep.
Yeah, see, before I became a Christian, I started off basically as pretty much an atheist because that's what I was taught in school. And because I was sick all the time, I decided that if I was sick all the time and there was no meaning to life and there was no purpose to life, because if you're just a parasite on the planet, you really, other than buying stuff, you have no purpose. And I decided to start looking for God, because if God didn't exist, I didn't need to. I didn't keep having to allow myself to be tortured constantly, because I have a lot of physical problems. And that's when I started seeking, and I went to New Age stuff. I went there. I studied with the Seventh-day Adventist. I studied with the Mormons, Scientology.
You did? You had an experience with Scientology,
There
really?
was a pretty girl out front of the place and said, "Would you like to take a personality test?" I said, "Yeah." That's a no-brainer. And so,
Interesting.
yeah, and no, I didn't accept Christianity because that's what was accepted of me. That took years
Yeah.
of seeking before I converted. It wasn't because I don't believe in believing things just because everybody else does.
Right.
Right.
You know, I think that's a very I shouldn't say that. I mean, some people do, and it comforts them for the rest of their lives. So
Right.
I shouldn't pass judgment on that.
Well, that's how most people who don't like people who do what you do, people who seek out or convert, or that's one thing. But most people who believe whatever they believe, it's because that's the family that they were born into. That's what they believed, and then that's what they're told. So then they.
That's why people vote for Democrats.
I didn't know.
Oh, that was hurtful. That was. Oh, so what else? What other trouble have you caused besides picking
I'm an
on
independent.
psychic?
I don't care. What do you think? That doesn't hurt me.
Yeah, I'm
No,
an
I was hurting
independent,
the
too.
audience.
You think Democrats watch this show?
Oh yeah, probably not.
Not with a hand grenade in the title. They're afraid.
Oh yeah. I brought the baseball hand grenade.
You bought the more humane one.
The more
Right.
humane
Yes.
baseball, because it's almost baseball season. I think
Oh yeah.
that's why.
Maybe you should get it repainted, make it look like a baseball.
Then it wouldn't look like a hand grenade.
Oh, that's true.
Well, you
I-
still
But
have
yeah, you
this.
still have the pin and stuff.
Yeah, so just be a fancy
I
baseball
actually have to
hand
cover
grenade.
that up with my jacket as I'm coming over here. 'Cause
Yeah, no kidding, huh?
that's all you need is people start screaming and running into buildings.
I'll think you're part of a sleeper cell.
Yes. Especially if I start closing my eyes as I'm walking, which I do often. So anyway, what other horrible
Horrible
trouble?
things.
wow.
I mean that in a negative way.
What else have we done? We've done. There's a lot of side project stuff we've done. We've been to a couple conferences and spoken at conferences.
Well, mostly we attend the amazing meeting,
Now, what is that? I've never heard of the amazing.
The
Would I
amazing
be
meeting,
amazed or?
It
Well,
depends.
It depends on who's speaking. Last year was Neil deGrasse Tyson, so yes, I was.
And Bill Nye the
amazed.
Science Guy.
And
Oh,
Bill Nye
good.
the Science
Oh, he
Guy.
must be. He's a pretty entertaining dude.
Yeah, he was
Both
very
of
good.
them are very entertaining, very good speakers. Any one of their videos worth watching and
Yeah.
gaining information from them.
Now, who's this? I know Bill Nye, and I've heard that other name, but I don't know
Neil
what
deGrasse Tyson. He's the director of the.
Hayden Planetarium.
Thank you. And he runs a podcast, and the name escapes me right now. I want to say it's Science Radio or something like that.
Something like
I
that.
don't hold me to that.
But
name.
he also does some stuff with PBS for Nova
Yep.
Science Now. I think
Okay,
it's for
okay.
Science.
Yeah, big advocate for getting public to understand.
So he knows all about
science.
Nubis. Was it Nubis?
Nubis?
Nubis? Oh, what the heck is the cotton picking latest theory? Some Nubis planet is it going to come?
Oh, are you talking about Nibiru or
Nibiru? Is that-
Nibiru,
it's like suits.
also known as Planet X?
Yeah.
It
It
has
has
no-
2012 stuff.
Yeah, it has no orbit, and it's supposed to come and kill us. And it was already supposed to happen in 2007, and
Yeah, it was late. So
Phil
what?
Plate does a lot of talk on that.
really.
Yeah, he does
he
Bad
runs a
Astronomy blog.
Oh, I've been to that. There's a site, right? Badastronomy.com. I've been to
Yes.
that site.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did a show called Bad Universe for a few shows.
Yeah, I
But
hate the
he
universe.
actually talked at the amazing meeting. He was
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
president of the JREF for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But you go, and it's basically a meeting for a bunch of skeptics to gather and share ideas and on what they've done or how to promote good evidence and scientific reasoning, logical reasoning. So it's a lot of fun. It's mostly to
yeah, and they have other
gain
stuff.
new ideas. And go
Sorry,
ahead.
they have other stuff too, where the intersection of skepticism and magic,
Yeah.
and Penn and Teller are very involved in it.
Okay.
And there's
Yeah.
some other magicians that are involved, and they talk about that because magicians do deception as their trade.
Right, right,
so
right,
they,
right.
They know a lot of
Right.
the tricks and stuff.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
what
so
the
you
heck?
do a-
My poor grandchildren. Because at Christmas time, there was the and I forgot what they're called. They were all over the TV and all the kids' programs about this magic ball. It's basically you could get it to float in the air. Right?
I think I know what you're talking about.
I forget what it's
I
called.
know,
It
I
has some
forget what it's
Japanese name or something like that. But
I have no idea.
it was a
Me neither,
total scam.
Yeah, it was. It's kinetic juggling, right? Is
No,
that what
no,
it's
no,
supposed to
no,
be?
no.
No.
No, basically what it was is what it looks like, or it seems heavy enough to be, a steel ball
Yeah.
with an outside very clear plastic, probably a quarter an inch or a half inch thick,
Okay.
so that if you moved it right in your hand, it would look as if the ball is floating because you're seeing through the outside of.
Oh.
Okay, but that's not the way it was presented on TV. So you've got like a 6-year-old who's trying to move this ball like this. It was a wicked scam. I mean, it would be cool if you were into that sort of thing. And you were
Right.
probably
It would be cool for a
13
magician.
or yeah, but not children. It was
Didn't work out quite well.
Fooling his money or soon parted, especially at Christmas time.
Very much so.
Do you guys spend a lot of time talking to people about 2012? And because there's a lot of people who believe it.
Sometimes
I mean,
your cousin asked me about it once.
yeah.
Here and there.
It's more sporadic.
Yeah.
I think part of that is because the circles that we run in don't usually subscribe to that kind
Yeah.
of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, we think the Mayan calendar just happened to end, and if they were going to continue it, it would be like our calendar, just,
Right,
it'd be
exactly.
on like a
Over, yeah.
200-year cycle or whatever, however
Right.
long they did it for.
Well, I always tell people I had a calendar on my refrigerator that ended at December 31st, 2011, and I was worried, but somehow
Somehow
January 1st came.
Whoa,
magically
whoa.
came to 2012.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
despite my
wow.
calendar ending.
How do you know?
I don't. This could all be a
Well-
dream.
Exactly.
Something I always wondered is, well, if the Mayans who made that calendar were going to predict the world's end, shouldn't they have also predicted their own end of their own civilization? Shouldn't that have been marked on the calendar? Now,
Well,
it
the
could
one-
be. I could be wrong. I mean, I didn't look at it, so I don't know.
Right.
You know, but
The one thing I look at that, I believe it was the Mayans who used to sacrifice humans to gods.
I have no idea. I don't remember. if
believe it was the
Aztecs
Mayans.
Or the Mayans.
And if that's the case, I know it was some South American group, but I thought it was the Mayans. And if that's the case, I don't hold any credence to anything that
Right.
subscribes to that sort of religious. I mean, if you were going to like sacrifice Democrats to something or something, that'd be all right.
Right. Right.
You know, I think that's just makes sense, but
Yeah.
it
One
wouldn't
or
be
two
a
Democrats
religious.
who watch the show are probably.
Yeah.
Oh, unless
Shut it off.
Unless our liberal friends are already in the
Oh,
building.
geez, don't. So yeah, I probably should quiet down. Yeah, I don't know. I remember when Y2K came, and a bunch of Christian friends of mine, you know, were saying it was the end of the world, and the Bible says nobody will know the
Right.
day of the time. So if you know it's Y2K, obviously you're wrong.
Well, it's a business, though. I mean, doomsday is big business. You know, people make
Yeah.
money on these
Nobody
stupid
would watch
survival
this.
kits. and-
That's what I tell you. You know what upsets me is Discovery used to be so cool because they had so many science programs, everything.
Oh
else.
yeah, now it's all doomsday
all
stuff.
doomsday.
And like
It's
History
like, come
Channel's all
on.
Yeah.
like monster
I
stuff.
think they have a
and-
Facebook page, don't they, that says, "Remember when Discovery Channel
Yeah.
actually showed science?"
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Really?
actually
Talked
worth
about
watching.
science.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know that if you're going to sit down and watch a an hour show about Bigfoot, okay, before you sit down and watch that, realize that if they had actually found him, you wouldn't have to wait till 6:30 to hear it.
Yeah. Actually, you know what's funny? We have a friend of ours, Ben Radford,
Yeah.
and he does a podcast called Monster Talk.
Yes,
and
and
they
that's
and they
very
talk
good.
they talk a lot about that, but it's all the science, the history behind where it came from,
Yep.
what it possibly could be, things like that.
And you notice that with camera technology getting better, the pictures of Bigfoot never are as good as
Well,
the
he's not
camera
that
quality.
photogenic. The dude's shy. I mean, it's not
know.
fair. It's
Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, have you ever
He
heard
really
the
prefers that soft focus.
have you heard the idea
Same
of
pictures come out like that of me too.
psychic Bigfoot?
Psych.
So there's people that say there's a psychic Bigfoot, and he can travel between interdimensions, and that's why you can't get a photo of him. It's
Wait, why is he
uh,
psychic Bigfoot and not like time
because
travel Bigfoot?
no, because he needs to be psychic, so he knows when you're going to take a picture, so he can shift into another dimension.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
You have to ask Ben about that.
All right, I
crafty.
will. I'm gonna.
Yeah.
That's a crafty Bigfoot.
That
I'm
one
gonna send
scares
an
me.
email out.
Yeah.
to Ben.
Yeah, thanks for making me nervous now. So anyway, after our Travis called me up. He said he was going to have a meeting of the Grand State Skeptics a few weeks ago, and invited me, and that was actually pretty entertaining.
Oh, good. I'm glad
Yeah, it was
you
fun. And
enjoyed
that,
yourself.
yeah, and that wasn't one of our typical meetings. We had a guy that was there. That was Chris Stedman. He was talking about interfaith stuff. He likes to
Yes.
get the people of faith and people of non-faith communicating so they understand each other better. And
Right.
that's not typically
Yeah,
the
but
kind of stuff that we do.
the twist is personally as a born again Christian, I absolutely believe the Bible says the truth will set you free. So that if I'm communicating with other people, theoretically, I can convert them. So conversation's always good.
Right.
Some of the interfaith things are not about educating one another or communicating and talking and trying to break down barriers as much as it is about unifying, which would be contrary to the Bible.
Right.
As
You're
if-
not proselytizing. You're
Yeah, you're and it because if the Bible's correct, that can't be correct. You can't have it both ways.
Right, they're
If the
mutually
Bi-
exclusive.
Yeah, they are mutually exclusive. But the idea of talking with each other, I thought it was really cool. And the really odd thing was, I've never seen this before, is the gentleman that went to speak to their group was a Christian, converted to or became an I don't know if you convert to it, but
Became an atheist.
Became an atheist,
Yeah.
and he's trying to get interfaith dialogue between he and the Christian groups and Muslims and Buddhists and Hindus and atheists,
Interesting.
which is kind
One of these
a
things
very
is not like the other.
That's why he's co-host because of the singing.
Yeah. My beautiful, my dulcet tones.
Yes. So what other
We ran a Skeptic Camp, which is a
the
little.
skeptic camp?
yeah. It's an unconference.
It's a Yeah, it's an informal conference. That's why they call it an unconference, where you meet up, and it's supposed to be a free event and run as cheap as you possibly can get it. So you try to find.
You
it's
live
true.
in a box.
So you try to find yourself a little box and out on the street. No, we actually went to a restaurant. We went to a restaurant where they had a room available, and so we held our conference there.
Yeah,
And
it was
anyone
one day.
could speak. It was one day. So we had a few people, and the topics varied. One person talked about probability and statistics.
Yeah.
The
Another,
really good one was the sugar one.
the really good one, which was a surprise because you look at it and you think, okay, this doctor's going to talk about sugar, and everyone already knows about sugar, and so you're like, okay, well, you can speak because the
That's the
platform's
format.
open, and go ahead. And it was really, really good, and there was a lot of exchange going on in the audience because one woman just couldn't accept the evidence that was being presented. She's like, but every time I give my kid sugar, he goes hog wild, and the guy's like,
Yeah, that's basically what the
not
premise was.
the sugar that's doing that.
Was-
Right.
Yeah, sugar doesn't cause kids to be hyperactive. It's the environment that they're in.
Yeah.
That was the main focus of that study that he was talking about. It also could have something to do with the caffeine that your kid's consuming too. But that wasn't.
So
part
that
of
was
that.
the crux of his talk, was how sugar really doesn't do all the things we. I'll tell you
Exactly.
what.
Interesting.
Sugar is the scapegoat for hyperactivity.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's, I thought was interesting in the periodically they move, especially in, I guess particularly in England, they move grave sites because they try to build a building, and every time they try to build something, those pesky coffins come up down, and so they have to move them. And so somebody decided to start studying these because they're, some are from 200 years ago, 400 years ago, 700 years ago. And they actually, from the skeletal remains, can trace exactly when sugar cane was introduced into England.
Oh, because of their teeth?
Yep.
Their teeth were toast.
Yep.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, I've heard that.
Huh.
Yep.
Yeah, it's interesting. When it started getting cheaper and like
Yep, it started-
royals didn't have it, it went down to the common people. And yeah, I've heard that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting. But some of the other stuff we do some like well, how would you say it? Like activism for, I don't know, products and stuff.
Do
What do you
activism
mean
for products.
what do you mean by
Like the
products?
bands.
Oh yes. Well,
What bands?
Why,
So-
that's your thing. Why don't you talk
so
about the
talk
bands?
about my bands. So I'm sure most people have seen either ads on TV or the kiosk at the mall, and they sell these bands that are very similar to the one that's on my wrist, with like a hologram or some kind of. It's
Yeah.
embedded with something or other, and it's supposed to give you better balance, strength, and flexibility.
Oh yes,
right?
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yep. I've seen
So-
the commercials for those.
So myself and another guy, originally it was two people in Australia that started doing it, and then they let us do it in the States. So we started making our own bands, and we use it to demonstrate how
Now,
the
what's that,
people
what's
sell-
that called
Yeah.
again? When they
The test is called applied kinesiology.
applied kinesiology.
Applied kinesiology,
Applied
yeah. So,
kinesiology,
so
okay.
basically, I mean, there's a real field of science called kinesiology, and
Yeah.
then there's another thing that's called applied kinesiology, where they do tests. They use it for a lot of different
Well,
things.
wait. Can you do that on Matt?
Yeah, I'll do it on
All right, I'm going to get out of the way.
Okay.
Where do you want to do it?
We only got 10 minutes left, so
Yeah.
Matt, right there, because I think that.
Okay, I can.
You want me? Do I need to stand?
I'm
or-
gonna go
Yeah,
hang
I need
out-
you to stand
I'm
up.
going to go hang out with your wife.
Okay, that's fine. So,
Gary's smooth. Watch him. He's very smooth.
okay, so
We
let me
can
get
heckle
on the
them
other
while
side
he's
'cause
doing
I'm
it.
gonna get the camera. Okay. And I'll try and speak up so that the
You
thing
got to
can.
watch
If you want to
if
move
this
that chair a
stays
little
in
bit.
the.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks
All right,
like you're
this is
staying right
all-
in the camera. Good.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is I have this magic bracelet,
Mm-hmm.
and what I want you to do is put your arms out straight, like this. Yeah, nice and stiff, and then raise your left leg.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push down.
I have terrible balance.
What I'm going to push down is push down on your elbow, and you're going to. You have bad
Put your,
balance,
put your
right?
foot
Yeah.
back up there, cheater.
You got to hold your foot up.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going
Try.
to give you the magic band. Hold that in your hand.
Okay.
And then we'll do the same test again. So
Okay.
you're going to raise your leg up.
Okay.
Then I'm going to push down.
Look at that.
Wow, it's magic.
Yeah. So then another one we can do is just real quick. So cup your hands like this, and then what I'm going to do, put your feet together. You
Okay.
got to put your feet together, and then I'm going to push down in here, and see. So now I'm going to give you the band. I'm going to do the same thing again.
Okay.
Don't you
Does
feel
that give you more
stronger?
balance?
Apparently.
Yes, it's all a trick. It's all
What?
totally a trick. So basically, what it is when you don't have the band, I'm pulling away from your body. So when I
Okay.
did your arm, I pulled away this way towards me.
Yeah.
When you had the band, I pushed towards you, which anchored your feet, so
Yeah.
you couldn't fall over.
So that's just physics.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
All right.
And
Right.
all the
Now the-
bands rely on that, and they rely on you not noticing the difference
Okay.
in pull.
The slight.
Right.
and
Yeah.
here, actually, you can have it.
Oh, thank you.
And here, you can have the other one.
Oh, sweet.
But those aren't the actual magic bands; those are placebo bands.
Yes, they're
Ah,
placebo
I need
bands. So now the
I love
there's a PS.
placebos.
now here's where the kicker is.
Thank you, by the way.
Yes, my pleasure. So here's the kicker with these things is that the real ones sell for anywhere from $25 to $60 a piece.
Yeah.
We sell those. placebobandstore.com.
No way. No way. Is
And-
that really what it's called?
Yes.
Yeah, so we sell them for $4 a piece.
Yeah.
And $1 from each band goes towards skeptical activism.
Okay.
So we put it
That's
aside for
awesome.
that. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's what we do with those.
Very
That's a
nice.
little side project.
No,
Yeah.
that is really cool because there are like like we've already talked about. There's so many people that are actually sincere about what they believe and doing what they believe is right. There are people that are sincere about faith healing and actually mean it, and I'm sure there's people that are healed through that. But there's so many people that are out hosing people that it just tears everything up. It's so dishonest, so
Yeah.
fundamentally like this thing. That's just
Yeah.
that's horrible that people do that to each other. But anyway, so what other? Oh yeah, make sure now. Do you have a website?
Yeah, it's granitestateskeptics.org or .com, doesn't
This goes
matter.
with my eyes, really.
So yeah, we have that website.
And we have a Facebook page, Granite State Skeptics.
Yeah, just search
And,
for Granite State Skeptics on
Yep.
Facebook.
And then
What else do we have? Oh, and then this upcoming Monday at New England College.
yes,
And
that's right.
Henniker,
We gotta-
Henniker.
In Henniker, the only Henniker on earth.
Yeah.
We have a guy called Brian Dunning who does a podcast called Skeptoid. And he's going to be doing a talk. What's
Monday, the-
Sounds from Beyond.
Sounds from Beyond on Monday 26th. At
Can you
7.
tell us enough about it that to encourage us to go without actually?
Well, we've seen the talk before, and it's fantastic.
Yes,
It's-
actually, it really is, and he.
It's really good.
This might.
She's all excited.
This might interest you. So you remember? Do you remember when there's like all this controversy about the bands like the Beatles and Led Zeppelin when you played their
Yeah, the
records
backwards,
backwards,
right,
and they
right,
would say
right.
Yep.
it's like
He talks about that in his
He
talk.
talks about that.
Oh,
He
really?
talks
Yeah.
about why you hear those things, and
Oh,
it's
okay.
not because
I
It's
thought,
actually
they're really
saying that.
I
saying
thought it
it,
was
but-
after you did a couple doobies and you rolled.
So Paul McCartney
Well-
isn't really dead?
You know, if you're adding chemical influence, this is not what the talk's about.
Oh,
Right.
You know, this
oh.
is without chemical influence
Yeah.
that you're hearing.
I'm talking
these
about
things.
medical marijuana, by the way. I get glaucoma, so it's,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want people to get the wrong idea.
But even if you can't make the talk, which you should because it's free.
Yeah.
Yeah,
now,
it's
where,
free.
where at New
This-
England College
this-
is it? Because I know you.
The Simon Center is where the talk's
main
being
building.
held.
The
So
main
the main
building? Okay.
So
Oh,
drive
okay.
through the center of town. It's the big white building on your right that says Simon Center.
But you should definitely,
So
regardless.
Simon says you should go to the center.
Simon says you should go to Henniker, New England College, and see Brian Dunning.
What time?
7 p.m.
but
Monday. Next Monday.
This
Monday.
upcoming Monday.
For
yeah.
free.
For
For
free.
free.
Yeah. But it's even if you can't make it to that, you should definitely check out his website. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fantastic.
And all of his stuff is documented, researched, and anything cited. And any errors that come up, he fixes them right away as soon as you notify him. I think this might be wrong. Can you check it out? And he'll take care of that.
Good stuff.
That's
Yeah.
wicked cool.
Yeah, he's really good at it.
Because as much as we disagree on some things, I think your group is good because if you weed out all the charlatans, what's left is the cream, you know. So it's
Right.
it's a good thing because there's a lot of good people out there that are trying to help each other and not trying to hose each other. But it's difficult to tell the difference.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think we're all done. Are we?
Yeah, we gotta wrap.
Wow.
This was a fun show.
yeah.
Oh,
let's-
wait,
yeah.
wait,
That was
no.
a fast hour.
Yeah.
You know, well, the only. Well, I'm not gonna say that.
now I'm curious.
I'll tell you afterwards. Anyway,
Okay.
so next week we have Sir Kevin of Smith, who's running for governor.
Oh, Kevin Smith, very
Kevin
good.
Smith running for governor. He's going to be on talking about his run for governor, and
Not the same guy as the director, I assume.
I don't know who the director is.
Oh, sorry. Never mind.
I'm not that
You guys know.
educated.
Yeah.
I understand. It was a bad joke on my part,
That's
anyway.
wicked. But
We got it.
Because he probably hears it all the time. You know what I mean? Kevin Smith, the guy running for governor.
can
he
ask
probably,
him next week.
He probably hears that all the time. Oh, I've seen all your movies.
You can,
Yeah, I'll ask him that next
If it was
week.
Kevin Carson or Carson, I can't even say
I
that.
don't know who that
All
is.
right, anyway, thank you very much, folks. We'll see you next week.
Bye.